Hi and welcome, my name is Eric Simpson, an online weight loss specialist for busy professional women over 40 who are looking to not only lose weight, but understand how to keep it off long term and turn it into more of a lifestyle so we can put this weight loss thing behind you once and for all. So the Weight Loss Mastery class is about how to lose weight and keep it off long term. Now on screen you can see three ladies who I've worked with myself personally, three clients of mine. From left to right, we've got Marie, who took off 57 pounds 2 years later, still within 7 pounds of a happy weight. And what I mean by happy weight is when I work with a client, we agree what your lightest weight is going to be, and then we come up with a weight range that you are happy to sort of operate within, so that you don't feel as though you're on a constant sort of diet or anything like that, or having to watch the scales all the time, or always having to watch what you're eating because you've gained a pound or two. You need a range to work within, so it becomes more of a lifestyle, as I say. Sue lost 71 pounds 2 years later, 8 pounds within a happy weight range, and Gainer 71 pounds later, and a year later lost another 14 pounds. And I thought I'd include that in there because sometimes there's this idea that once you've lost a lot of weight, it becomes virtually impossible to lose any more weight, and that just proves the point that that is possible. And Gainer went on, and again she now is within, I think, 7 or 8 pounds of her happy weight range 2-3 years later. So the information I'll be sharing with you today is based on my own personal experience. It's not a magic bullet or anything like that. It's just what I have found to be really effective working with busy professional women over 40. And here's one of the reasons why I think it's been successful, and I'll go into more detail in a moment, but just as a sort of a quick preview, it's because most women that I've ever worked with, I'd say 99.9% of them, and you would be included in that if we work together, I'm sure, know a bit about diet already, have tried multiple different diets in the past, have maybe been members of gyms, maybe done personal training, maybe done boot camps. So you don't lack the knowledge. The three ladies on screen here, who I'll be talking about more in a moment, did not lack knowledge when it came to nutrition or exercise. It was more about me helping them to simplify things, structure things, and put in a little bit of accountability as well. Now, as I go through this presentation, I'm going to be sharing some insights about these three women, but I first of all just want to make sure that because I'm going to be speaking for about 40-50 minutes that you are in the right place and this is for you. So who is this for? Well, if you want a better looking body, and some people get a bit embarrassed about admitting that, but I would suggest well over 90% of people that start off on weight loss want to achieve a better looking body. So you don't need to be shy about it or embarrassed or feel awkward. It's perfectly normal, and I hope you do want a better looking body because that is one of the byproducts of losing weight. You want to look better in clothes and out of clothes, whether that's wearing swimwear where you don't have to put a towel around yourself, or whether that's walking around your house or your bedroom naked or very limited clothing. That's what you want to be able to achieve. You want a better sex life. You want to have more energy to do the things that you want to do, whether that's out walking more, whether that's going cycling or playing with your grandkids or playing with your grown-up kids. Whatever it means to you, that's what you want. You want to feel more confident in your own skin, basically. And obviously you want better health, and you're prepared to do the work. If you can tick any of those 7 things off, then you are definitely in the right place, and I'm going to be sharing with you exactly how you can achieve it. Just like you can see Sue on screen there, 71 pounds off 2 years later, still 8 pounds within her happy weight range. Now, as I go through this presentation, because I'm not speaking from notes, I'm speaking from just my experience, my slides are just my prompts. I'll occasionally stop for a little drink of water. So please do sort of give me a little bit of slack on that if you would, please. So let's go through what I'll be covering specifically in this presentation. I'll be talking about, first of all, the weight loss playing field. We are all on a playing field when it comes to weight loss. And this playing field has certain rules. And if we don't know what the rules are, we're going to fall foul of those rules and we're going to be struggling with weight loss. And we won't be able to factor it in. So if we know what the rules are and we understand the rules, we can start to play by them, bend them a little bit, and occasionally break some rules as well. But we need to know what they are. I'm then going to speak about how to overcome 3 common weight loss obstacles that women over 40 are faced with. And I'll be talking about Marie, Sue and Gainer when I go through that, to give you some real case study information and background as to how they overcame that and how I believe you can overcome it as well. And then finally, what you can do going forward. So at the end of this, there'll be nothing to buy, by the way, at the end of this, but I will give you the opportunity to find out how you and I can get together and have an initial conversation, but that'll come much later. Now, I think it's only right and proper that I share a little bit about me and who I am, so you know I'm a real person. So I don't share this to be braggy, I just share it so you know that I am a real individual. So, I'm a lifelong health and fitness enthusiast. I'm a coach, educator and instructor. I enjoy coaching, teaching and promoting health and well-being generally. It's something I've got a real passion for. And here you can see on screen a picture of me with a group of ladies, clients, training them for the Race for Life, the fun run, the 3-mile fun run. I'm sure you're familiar with that. I've done multiple ones of these over the years. This is another event that I organised. This was a personal best health event in my local sort of town, or local to me, place called Salisbury. We had the mayor opening it up. It was a personal best health event. I gathered a load of health and wellbeing practitioners to promote health and wellbeing to the community. My qualifications and training include a BSc Honours in Exercise Rehabilitation, a certified personal trainer, Pilates instructor, and trained in NLP, which if you don't know is Neuro-Linguistic Programming and Cognitive Behaviour Therapy. And finally, just a bit of personal stuff. So I'm a former Army physical training instructor. There you can see a picture at the bottom, me with my son, who's a lot bigger now and a lot older. That was me about to deploy on operational duty. In the middle there, it's a picture of me meeting up with the then Home Secretary Amber Rudd, who came to Salisbury during the Novichok attack, which you may or may not be familiar with. And then to the right of that, you've got me at Wimbledon, just sort of queuing up to get into those hallowed grounds at Wimbledon to watch a little bit of tennis. So that's just a bit about me. I say not to be braggy, just so you know that I am a real person. So let's get into now this thing about the playing field that I spoke about, the weight loss playing field, because if you don't know what this is, you will struggle to be successful when it comes to weight loss. So let me cover these 3 things off very quickly. Number 1, metabolism. Crucial, really does have a big impact on your ability to not only lose weight but manage it long term as well. Let me explain why. So for men and women, when we go past the age of 20, we start to lose our lean body mass. That's muscle, and it's natural. We all lose lean body mass as we age. However, 2 things. For women, you have less lean body tissue when you in comparison to men. Men have more muscle mass than women. When your lean body tissue goes down, it's directly connected to your metabolism. So as lean body mass goes down, muscle goes down, your metabolism drops. So you could find yourself in a situation where you believe you're eating, and you may well be eating similar in terms of volumes of calories that you ate when you were in your 20s and 30s, but now you're in your 40s or 50s, or maybe a little bit older, that you seem not to be able to shift those calories. And you've now got what we call and commonly call middle-age spread, and that's connected in part to your metabolism. So we need to address your metabolism and how you're moving your body to sort of reverse that and reverse the middle-age spread, and it can be done. So that's number 1. Number 2, menopause. Clearly I have no idea about that myself personally, but professionally, having been with women now, worked with them for over a decade, I've heard a lot, seen a lot, and I've been able to advise a little bit on it as well. With menopause, as you will know better than I, if you've gone through it or you're experiencing it right now, you know, anxiety, mood changes, difficulty sleeping, and there's just 3 things off a list of other things that you may well have struggled with or could be going through right now. But that needs to be factored into a weight loss program. If it isn't, then again, you're going to find it incredibly difficult. And then you've got what I call the weight loss calendar. And what is the weight loss calendar? Well, as you can see, it's made up of different events throughout the course of the year. So you've got birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, Christmas, Easter, unexpected events. And if you were to look at your calendar now, you could probably tick off all those events and some additional ones as well. Here's the thing with the weight loss calendar. Unless you factor that into your weight loss program, your new lifestyle changes, these things will always derail you. So you'll never feel as though you're getting any momentum, because you're constantly faced with these events, which, guess what, are all surrounded by food. Food is central to pretty much all of these events. It's what we do in the Western culture a lot of. So there's 3 things that we need to be aware of, but there are 3 more as well. And they are to do with life. They all come under the life banner. So your family, your friends, your work. There are going to be some great times with all these 3 areas. There are also going to be some very challenging times as well, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. But unless we're able to become more resilient ourselves up here, we are always going to be at the mercy of things externally. So we get ahead, and then suddenly something happens, family, friends, or work, and then we're derailed. Now, I'm not saying for 1 second that family events, work events, friends having issues doesn't impact us. Of course it does. We're not robots. But you need to be able to develop some resilience so it doesn't absolutely derail your attempts at losing weight. So that's the weight loss playing field. Hopefully that makes some sense to you, and hopefully you've made some notes there, and you need to understand that when you start a weight loss program, those things need to be factored into it. Now let's talk about the obstacles. So I'm going to talk about 3 specific weight loss obstacles and how to overcome them. Now, this is a comment I've often heard, and I'm sure you have as well. Why can't I lose weight? I would attribute it to the weight loss playing field, not being aware of that, and these 3 obstacles I'm now going to talk you through. So let's get into them. So obstacle number 1, the single focus approach. What do I mean by that? That's where you go all in for one specific thing. Now, typically for women that I have worked with, their focus tends to be around diet. That's what they're going to focus on, the diet, whether it's going to be a recipe book, something out of a magazine, smoothies, pills, shakes, but anything that you eat, that tends to be the focus, the diet. And they go at that exclusively. Now, the example I'm going to use today in the case study is a lady called Marie. I showed you her earlier. Marie, when she came to me, she was very much single focused. Now, she'd done the diet stuff already, so she thought she would go down the exercise route, and she was doing a thing called Insanity. I'll speak more about that in a moment. But Marie's background basically was married, 3 kids, full-time pastoral care officer, so had a full-time job, was going through the menopause and did throughout the time we worked together, had a knee injury from exercise, and that was from doing the Insanity program. Nothing wrong with the Insanity program, but I think she went at it too hard, too fast, and ended up injuring herself. When she contacted me, I didn't realize this at the time, but when she rang me, she was ringing from a private hospital car park, sat there with her husband, contemplating a medical procedure. That's the point she'd got to. She was also on antidepressants, and she was, quite frankly, she tells me, at her wit's end. Like a lot of women find themselves, and we've tried lots and lots of different things, it seems to be an impossible task. So that's where she was. Her main fear before starting with me was she didn't want more of the same. She didn't want somebody saying to her she had to be very restrictive and just focus on diet, or get out and do 10,000 steps every single day, followed by 50 press-ups, 50 sit-ups, or something like that. She wasn't looking for that. Now, she wasn't entirely sure what she was looking for, but she knew she didn't want more of the same. So how do we overcome and get over this obstacle? Well, quite simply, I said, Marie, we need to take more of a holistic approach. We need to appreciate, we need to address your eating, we need to address your exercise, and we've got to address your mindset. If we address all those 3 things together, we don't have to be perfect at any one of them. As long as we're doing okay in all 3 areas, when you collect them all together or combine them all together, you will get a great result. And as you can see there, she went on and lost 57 pounds. And I mentioned earlier, 2 years later, within 7 pounds of her goal range, stroke happy weight. And she also completed a 65-mile bike ride. So it wasn't just about losing the weight, it was about becoming fitter and healthier as well. Now, you may be wondering, why is there a picture of cheese in there? Is this a cheese diet? Well, no, it's not in for that reason. It's in there because one of the questions that Marie asked me was, will I be able to eat cheese when I'm on this program, when I'm working with you? And you may have one of your favorite foods that's going through your mind now. It may be chocolate, it may be crisps, it may be whatever it is. And I said, of course you can. And her eyes kind of lit up. Now, that wasn't the one and only thing I said to her, but what it meant for her was she wasn't going to be feeling as though she was on some sort of a restrictive diet regime. Because here's the reality. You can pretty much eat whatever you want to eat when you are trying to lose weight. The question is, how much and how often? So that's how Marie got over this obstacle of this single focused approach, was for us to take a more of a holistic approach. Hopefully that makes good sense to you. Okay, let's tiptoe and take a look at obstacle number 2, which is self-doubt. This is prevalent for pretty much everybody, and whenever I have had to lose a few pounds, even I, with my background, you think there's no way that I could have any doubt. Of course I do. As you get a little bit older, you do doubt yourself a little bit. And this was certainly the case for Sue. So Sue The thing that prompted Sue to contact me was she saw a photograph of herself at an award ceremony with her husband, and she looked at the photograph and, I'm paraphrasing now, said, oh no, this is not good, I have to do something about this. So Sue's case was married, mother of two. Her doubt was around, I've got too much weight to lose. She wanted to lose, she said, about 3 stone, 40 odd pounds when we got working together, but she just thought, can I really do that? She felt she was too old at 52, which is no age at all. I'll never stick to a healthy eating plan. I doubt I can do that. I doubt I'll find the time to exercise. I've been overweight all my life, so why would this work for me? And a big one I think for a lot of people is, what if I fail again? And a quick little tip I give to all of my clients when I work with them, and it's this: if we end up working together, don't tell anybody what you're doing, because the second the cat's out of the bag, everybody becomes a weight loss expert, and they've all got opinions and they're all getting involved in your business. Keep it to yourself. You'll have a lot more fun if you do it that way, believe you me. So what was Sue's main fear? Her main fear was being given a restrictive diet and hard exercise. She knew she wouldn't stick to a restrictive diet, and she knew that hard exercise would probably ruin her knee. She had a bit of a dodgy knee and the odd little back complaint, which is commonplace for most people. So how did we overcome this level of self-doubt that Sue had? Well, it was pretty simple, really. And by the way, I'm saying all of this as if it's simple. I know it's not, it takes effort, but when you get your head right, you'd be amazed at how simple this can be. So I said, Sue, let's start where you are right now and build on that. Now, what Sue was doing, which she'd completely discounted, was she was walking her dog maybe 5, sometimes 7 mornings a week. And she completely discounted that as having anything to do with health and well-being. So when I made that point to her, big smile on her face, thought, oh yeah, okay, that sounds good. And we simply built on that, and we built in some additional exercise, a few resistance exercises to help with the metabolism, which I mentioned earlier. We looked at her nutrition, her diet, and we obviously worked on her mindset as well to bring it all together. And Sue went on and took 71 pounds off. Not only did she lose the weight, she went on and did a Kilimanjaro challenge, something that was never on the radar when we first started working together. Sue tells me that she used to sound like a 70-day smoker a day walking up a flight of stairs. And here she is doing a Kilimanjaro challenge. Sue also went on to be featured and interviewed on BBC Radio Wiltshire twice. The first year for losing weight, and the second year for keeping it off. They thought she'd put it back on. She didn't. She lost more weight the second year. But probably one of the biggest things and successes that Sue had that I was privileged to be at was an event that her and her husband ran. It was a big black tie event. I was invited along, about 150 people there, and Sue had to stand up and speak to these people. Now, Sue isn't a professional speaker. She runs a business, so not accustomed to speaking to groups of people, certainly not a room full of 150 people. Anyway, long story short, she stood up, she spoke for about 5-10 minutes and absolutely captivated the audience, had them eating out the palm of her hand. And afterwards we had a chat, and she said, Eric, there's no way I could have done that had I have not lost that weight. And my interpretation of that was, you had the skills to do it, Sue, you just lacked the confidence. Now you've lost the weight, the real you has come out, and you've always had that there. It was just that the weight was keeping it enclosed. Having lost it now, you can now express yourself more naturally. So that's how Sue overcame self-doubt. We started where she was. And right now, you may be thinking to yourself, well, Eric, that's all good and well for her walking the dog 5 days a week. A, I haven't got a dog, and B, I don't do any walking. That's fine. There'll be something that you are doing that is positive. Even sitting here where you are now, listening to me speak, is getting the wheels of motion moving in the right direction. And I don't say that lightly, because I genuinely know from experience, once you start getting things moving up here, everything else then follows. It has to start here first, and then we execute it in the real world, but it must start here first. So let's take a look at obstacle number 3. Obstacle number 3 are life's challenges, and we are all faced with these. Sometimes these can be very horrendous challenges, other times they can be minor things that we turn into major things. I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. Sometimes we can have level 1, 2 and 3 events. Level 1 might be somebody cuts you up as you're driving to work. That's a level 1. Level 2 might be loss of a job or somebody seriously ill. Level 3 is, divorce, death, loss of your house, something of that nature, something of that sort of magnitude. Here's the problem for a lot of people. They're turning level 1 event, i.e. being cut up in your car, they're turning that life challenge into a level 3. So they're totally incapacitated. They've got nowhere to go. So if a level 2 event should happen or a level 3 event should happen, they're absolutely flummoxed. So let's take a look at life's challenges. And I'm going to speak about Gaynor when I speak about this. So Gaynor, married, 2 girls in their 20s, one going through university, so required some support. As you can imagine, you may be in that situation yourself. The other one thinking about planning to get married. So again, some real involvement there, so quite busy there. Business owner, employed over 80 staff, I believe. So there's a big responsibility. She was also getting ready to sell her business whilst running the business. Big ask. Busy social life. You can imagine time poor. But huge for her was elderly and ill parents. 2 parents. Now, Gaynor worked a full week. Early mornings, finishing late in the evenings. But she also had to travel from where she worked, which was a place called Winterbourne, to Swindon. Now, if you know the road network in Wiltshire, it ain't great. We are kind of like an agricultural sort of county. And what would take anybody else in any other county about 30 minutes to get somewhere, here in Wiltshire, it might take you double that time. So she was having to travel from Winterbourne right the way across to Swindon. So it was taking it anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour in one direction, then having to travel back again. And she may have been doing that several times a week. So you talk about being emotionally drained. Is there any reason why she wouldn't be? And you may be thinking to yourself, how on earth could somebody in that situation possibly even think about wanting to lose weight? Well, she did. And her main fear was she would do something, but she couldn't do something that was time consuming. So how did we address Gaynor's situation and get her to move beyond all of these things that were going on, which might make something seem impossible, to achieving the success that she did? Well, the solution was we reevaluated what was important and put a simple action plan in place and some accountability. So what does it actually mean? What did we reevaluate? Well, we sat down, we had to reevaluate Gaynor putting herself back to the top of the list, because this is so common for a lot of women where they are number 2, number 3, number 4. Sometimes they're not even on the list. They put their needs secondary to everybody else, whether that's to their family, significant other family members, friends, work, and they're somewhere down the pecking order. So this wasn't the easiest thing in the world for Gaynor to do, believe you me. And you may be sat there thinking right now, I couldn't do that. But unless you're prepared to work on doing that, it becomes virtually impossible to get any traction and get the success that you need. And one of the things that me and Gaynor spoke about was the healthier she was, the more energy she had, the better it would be for her family, the better it would be for her parents, and the better it would be for her business. And all of those 3 things actually turned out very well, including getting her parents discharged from hospital, daughter through uni, other one married, and selling her business. And doing all of that whilst losing 85 pounds in weight. And there's a nice little picture, I think, of her holding a dress, which I like to show because that was a dress that she hadn't worn for years. And like a lot of women I've worked with, they've got a wardrobe that's sort of like mothballed away with clothes they haven't been able to get into for 5, 10, 15, 20 years or more. So there she's holding a dress and a few more behind her that she hadn't worn for a long time. Plus, she bought a few new pieces as well. So there are the 3 challenges, the 3 obstacles that women are faced with over 40, along with the playing field. So just to quickly summarize, the first thing is the single focus approach. Dismiss that, in my opinion. Work on a more holistic approach. Your mindset, your diet, and your exercise. So whatever program you get involved in, please make sure those 3 boxes are ticked. Self-doubt, feeling of overwhelm, don't worry about that. Start where you are. There'll be something you're doing right now that is beneficial to your health and well-being and will assist you in losing weight. Even if it's just you sitting there listening to me speak now. It's getting those wheels moving in the right direction. And then the third one, life challenges. They're going to happen to us all. We're all going to be faced with life challenges, whether we like it or not. Things are going to happen. Things are going to derail us. But if we can work on our resilience and putting ourselves at the top of the tree of importance, not in a selfish way, in a way that's going to help other people, then you can become successful and achieve results like these ladies here, and indeed greater results as well. So hopefully that makes good sense to you. Now, I said right at the beginning, I talked to you a little bit about where you can going forward. So I'm going to share that with you now if you just allow me a few more moments. So really you've got three options. Option number one, you can do nothing at all. I don't think that's a good option for you. Option number two, you can try and figure this stuff out for yourself, which you're perfectly at liberty to try and do that, and more power to the elbow if you do that. Or you may want to discuss the possibility of you and I working together. So what I'd like to do now is talk a little bit about the program that I offer, just a few minutes, just give you an insight. The program's called Coach Me Slim and Trim. And in a nutshell, what it does, this is the 10,000 foot view, then I'll get a little bit more granular as I go along. It's about working on your mindset, in addition, working on your nutrition and your exercise. So bringing all those three things together so that we can create some skill stacking. Because being successful at losing weight and keeping it off is nothing more than a set of skills that we combine together and we use consistently. It's just skills, okay? So techniques combined together, becoming effective skills so we can get through all of those different challenges that we're going to be faced with. Now, a little bit more detail about how it works practically. So it is private, you know, it's going to be something that you can do on a one-to-one basis in the privacy of your own home, which is always a good thing, I think. It's convenient. You can access my coaching sessions, which I'll talk about in a moment, either on your mobile device, your tablet or your desktop. So you've got the convenience of having me available 24/7, 365. It's time saving because you're not having to drive somewhere, typically to a gym or a slimming club, something of that nature, find a parking space and then go and do the workout and then come back to your car and drive all the way back home, get a shower, back into your clothes, so we can eliminate a lot of that time. The time you would have spent traveling to there and back again, in that time you could have had some coaching, had a workout and be back to doing whatever it was you were doing before. So you really can be efficient with your time. So it's one-to-one coaching and accountability. Definitely, I think that's important, the coaching and the accountability. You get access to my weekly step-by-step coaching. So you get access to a membership area and you are drip fed out on a 7-day basis. Every 7 days a new coaching session. You're given some stuff to do. You do the homework as well, and then when we meet on our coaching calls, we can talk about, you know, what's working well, any challenges you're having, how to overcome some challenges if you're having challenges, and also celebrate your successes as well. You get access to done for you eating plans, and I mean literally done for you, short of actually cooking it for you. But all the calories, the nutritional values, proteins, fats and carbs are worked out. There's keys on there, there's a whole range of things, and there are so many eating plans you would not believe. I'm going to give you an example in a moment. There's weekly live exercise clinic, because there'll be times where you may get stuck with your exercise. So within the membership area that I provide, there are exercises in there, but you may have questions, you may need to adapt something, you may need to do something a little bit more advanced. Well, those live exercise clinics are where you can come on and ask your questions and get your answers. So you're never too far away from getting an answer to your question. I also have mastermind sessions on a weekly basis where you get together with other people, other women who are going through the same journey, some at the start, some in the middle, some are on maintenance, but you get to hear how they have overcome certain things as well. So it's not just me speaking, you also get access to other people as well. And there's a easy to follow at home exercise routine, which is super simple to do. So that's just a bit about the program in terms of some of the detail. Let me show you a little bit more. So top left there, you can see me on screen, and that's me introducing the 12 months of recipes. I said earlier that, look, you're going to get a lot of food ideas. You just got to tweak what I provide for you. You can see you get a table of contents. If you look at below the table of contents, you've got a key there. It gives you the gluten-free, dairy-free. It tells you what's in there. Meal prep friendly, so if you want to prep some meals, It'll tell you which ones are freezer friendly, which is good, whether it's high protein, vegetarian, meals under 30 minutes, any meals that may contain nuts. So, you know, it's family friendly as well. You've got the shopping list, you've got the meal planner, and then you've got how to actually prepare the meal as well. How many people it serves, how long it takes to cook. You've also got a barcode on there. So there's an app out there which you may be familiar with. It's called MyFitnessPal. You can scan in with this barcode into MyFitnessPal and have your meal populate immediately. So I've done the best I can to minimize your time of having to think about what am I going to eat today. You'll have more than enough information available for you to make some good healthy recipes that not only you can eat, but the whole family can eat as well. This is just a quick sneaky look at the coaching I mentioned. So over here on the left, I'm just moving my cursor around. This just gives you an example of how the sessions are set up that you'll be accessing. And every 7 days, you are given access to one coaching session. I've done it that way intentionally. A couple of reasons. One, you're not overwhelmed with lots of information. That's one of the issues that people have sometimes. They get overwhelmed with too much information. The second reason is if I give you access to everything straight away, you may not implement certain things, or you may jump ahead several weeks to information that you're not ready to hear before doing the foundational stuff. So it's set up in a step-by-step, in a way that makes it virtually impossible for you to fail, because you're given a coaching session, you're given the homework to implement, and then we have our one-to-one coaching sessions as well. So you are kept on a pretty good track, which is personalized to you. And at the bottom of the screen there, you can see me on screen. That's me delivering a coaching session. And this coaching session I'm delivering would be reflective of what's in your personal journal. These are sent out in the post, so you have them. So as I'm speaking on screen, you are seeing what I am looking at in your journal. So that's just an example of a coaching session you'd get access to 24/7. And the good thing about it is, once you've watched the coaching session, you can pause, stop it, rewind it, and listen to it again. And then any questions you may have over and above that, we can talk about on our live one-to-one coaching calls. Welcome on board booklet you get, which gives you some little tips and guides and additional information. Here's just an example of some of the exercises I spoke about that are really simple to do. And I appreciate this is not very big on your screen, but you can see these things don't require a lot of equipment at all. And this is a basic starting point, and the foundation to this is walking with these type of exercises, and then we can progress it onto a more intermediate level as you become fitter. So that's just a bit about the program. Let's talk about again what your options are then, what you can do going forward. So option number one is do nothing. I don't think that's a sensible option. You wouldn't be on this if that was your thought process. Number two, you can try and figure this out on your own, which again, you're more than welcome to try and do that. More power to your elbow if that's your choice. Or you can book a call and let's see if there's a possible fit. And to book that call, it's simply a case of find the link around this video. You'd click on it, it would take you to a page. Up would come some days. You can select the day that best suits you. You can then select the time that best suits you and just fill out a few simple questions, and then we jump on a call. Now, there may be some possible concerns about booking your call. Possibly. You may have all of these, you may have none of these, but let's go through some of the things that people have said before jumping on a call. I should be able to do this by myself. And you know, a lot of people think that way, but I drive a car, maybe you do as well. I could change my own tires, but I don't. I go to a tire place to have them done. Tennis players have coaches, business coaches or business people have coaches, sportsmen have coaches. Coaching is now just accepted as part of normal life. So why not have a coach to help you with your health and well-being? I don't want to be pressured into buying something. I get that 100%. You get on a call and suddenly you find yourself being asked questions about getting out your wallet and getting out your credit card. That's not going to happen on this call. It's not going to happen because there is nothing to buy on the call. I actually can't, even if you wanted to buy something, I couldn't sell you anything because there's nothing to buy on the call. All the call is designed to do is for me to find out a little bit about your situation, for you to ask me a few questions as well, for me to explain how the program works in a bit more detail and tell you what the different investment levels are depending upon what your situation is that you find yourself in now and the sort of support that you need going forwards. If we both think, yes, this sounds like a good fit, we would then set up a second call at another time. So you can't buy anything on this initial call. It literally is just a fact-finding mission. So please don't worry, you can't buy anything and you won't be sold anything either. It will cost too much. Well, I'm certainly not the cheapest. I'm probably not the most expensive, but there is an investment to be made. If that's something that you are happy to do, then you will decide if it's worth making that investment, and that won't be my call, that'll be your call. I won't be able to stick to a diet. Well, the good news is I don't ask you to stick to a diet. What I do is I coach people on healthy eating principles, which means you can use these principles at home, when you're out for meals, when you're on holiday, in any situation you find yourself in. You can take these principles with you, so it makes it portable, so you've always got the power to make the best decisions for you based on what you want to have as the outcome. I don't have time to exercise. Well, a couple of good bits of news here. First of all, exercise is not for weight loss. You can't do enough of it. You know, I mentioned Marie at the beginning. She was trying to push hard in that department, ended up getting injured. So exercise is not for weight loss. And the exercise program that I start you off on will take you a very, very short amount of time. It's easy, it's quick, but it's really effective as well. So you don't need to do a lot of planning in terms of booking out your diary for hour-long sessions or anything like that. It's effective and it's quick. Nothing has worked. Why will this work? And that's a fair question to ask. And the honest answer is I don't know. But what I do know is if you've never spoken to me before, you've never tried this program. So let's have the conversation and find out. Now, here are just a few of the ladies I've worked with over the years. Rachel went through the Coach Me Slim and Trim program, 56 pounds lighter. Daphne lost 28 pounds. Daphne into her 70s. So, you know, when people say I'm too old at 52, like Sue thought, here's Daphne at 75 losing 28 pounds. Sue, 31 pounds. Bottom left, Caroline, 85 pounds. Caroline was actually a former Slimming World leader. Val, 31 pounds lighter. So look, just in closing, if you really do want a better looking body, nothing to be embarrassed about. If you want to look better in clothes and out of clothes, if you want a better sex life, if you want more energy to do the things that you want to do, if you want to feel more confident in your own skin and you want better health, and you're prepared to find out whether or not this might be an option for you, just go ahead. Click the button, book a call, let's have a conversation, nothing to buy, and worst, it's going to take up 10 minutes of your life to find out whether or not this is for you or not. It could be 10 minutes and you rule it out, or it could be the 10 minutes that actually, quite literally, transforms your health, just like you can see Sue did on screen there, 71 pounds lighter. What I'd like to do now is just end by sharing with you a little bit of feedback from some of the clients I've worked with. Thank you for your time. I hope you found this useful, and I hope to speak to you very soon. Take care and bye for now. Hi, Gaynor.
Hi, Eric.
Again, first of all, thank you for taking the time out today to do this, I guess, account of your journey so far on the Coach Me Slim and Trim program. So before we get into that, maybe just share with us, for people listening, a little bit about your background, if you could, please.
Sure, I'm Gaynor. I'm 55. I started life as a teacher. I have mum of two girls, and over time I've run my own business for the last 20 years.
Fantastic. And, you know, so what would you say, or when did your weight for you become an issue, really? You know, when was that?
I think I probably all the time, really. I was always that person, went up a gene size, went on a diet, went back down again. So a little bit of a yo-yo dieter. Certainly once I'd had children, it was more of a challenge. And really, when I was running the business, being so busy, and yeah, I think that I put on quite a bit of weight over that time. And then before I knew it, I'd put on a lot of weight.
Sure. And I guess, like a lot of women, certainly that I have worked with, and probably you know, they've tried different things to lose weight. What were, making an assumption here, what were some of your previous weight loss attempts?
I think almost everything. So I lost some weight with Atkins, put it straight back on. I used to go as a group to Slimming World with a group of friends. We used to undo it because if one of us had lost weight, we'd celebrate, and if one of us had put on weight, we'd commiserate and go and have a meal down the pub. Weight Watchers, the soup diet, everything. I always I think looking for that sort of quick fix. I never really lost a huge amount, so I think it's sort of £10, maybe a stone, and then each time I would put it back on again, plus a little bit more, really.
Yeah, sure. So what was it then that made it different this time when you started?
I think I just realised that it was more than a diet. I needed to be looking at something that would help me sort of holistically. I always say, I don't do my own dentistry. I go to a professional. I'm a professional. People come to me, and I sort of look for something that would help me to lose weight, with professional help, and found Coach Me Slim and Trim.
And was there, because often people talk about a light bulb moment. For some people it's a photograph, for some people it might be climbing a flight of stairs, for some people it might be they've been to the doctor said, look, you're borderline type 2 diabetes, you've got to address this. What was there a light bulb moment for you?
There was a bit of a weird one. It was a packet of Percy Pigs. So it was really good sweets that I really like. I was looking after both my parents. They were both in hospital at the time, and I'd come back out. It was about 9 o'clock at night into the car park in the dark, and I'd eaten half the packet on the way to the hospital, folded the packet over, saved the rest for on the way home. And my mantra at that time would very much be, I need sugar to get me through. And I opened this packet, and it was that light bulb moment of, what am I doing to myself? I'd been up and down the stairs that many times in the hospital, and I was absolutely worn out. And I was like, what am I doing? Look after yourself. And because I'd read about Coach Me Slim and Trim, I'd seen bits and pieces, thought that was interesting. But it was literally like, on the drive home, was like, you are going to do something about this. Contact that guy. So yeah, I did.
Fantastic. And for people listening, I'm sure they're keen to know, and we've got a few more questions, but how much weight have you actually lost so far on the Coach Me Slim and Trim program?
I think it's 5 pounds now. I'm 5'1", so that puts that into perspective. Yeah, so a lot of weight.
Yeah. Okay, great.
And I've kept it off.
Kept it up. So you've lost 5 stone, 5 pounds. What was the target that you set yourself when you started out?
Well, I set myself 9.5 stone, which was my weight when I got married 30 years ago. And my wedding day photos, I was 9.5 stone. So that's what I set. And at the time I set it, I'd have to say it just felt like a ridiculous notion that at 55 I could go back 30 years. And here I am.
Yeah, so you turned the clock back 30 years, which is, for some people it sounds like it's a dream or a joke, or it's just been ridiculous. But I guess you've just proven that whilst we can't turn the years back chronologically, we can recapture some of our health and well-being and the way we looked from some time ago, which you've obviously demonstrated that fantastically well. And, another question that I'm sure people will want to know is, on any journey from A to B, it's never going to be straightforward. There are going to be ups, there are going to be downs, there are going to be challenges, there are going to be life events, there are going to be family challenges, in your case, business challenges as well.
Yeah.
What was it that kept you motivated when you did have those little drop-offs with your weight, where you came in or when you registered your weight and it wasn't quite where you wanted to be? How did you keep on track? What kept you motivated?
I think the best thing on those days was with the Coach Me Slim program was that abilities it gave me to pause, not beat myself up, not go in, because in the past I would have just sabotaged myself. I'd have just gone, you've done it now, you put on 3-4 pounds, you've undone it, go and make it worse. And I think the thing that really helped was that stop, look at the journey, look how far you've come, this is just a blip, get back on back on track. And I think also when you look back and you see, when you lose the first stone, wow. But you also start to go, I know how to do this. I can do this.
Yeah.
So when, I remember there was one holiday and I'd put on 7 pounds when I got back, and it was like, right, get back in the saddle. Yeah. Don't overthink it. Don't worry about it. You know what you need to do. Just get back on and go and do it, and expect it. You know, we're all human. It happens.
Yes.
But that sort of sabotage that I would have done in the past, you know, just simply by looking at, come on, you can do this. And I think also it was the goal setting, because I'm good at setting goals within the business and making those work. And then when you set one for yourself, understanding what was going on in my head at those moments and being able to control that and to just, you know, right, moving on, let's get back on track was really, really helpful.
Fantastic. And as I say, it's a journey, A to B, and it continues. You know, you haven't stopped now. We're now in your maintenance phase, but going from where you were to where you are now, was there one specific area that was your biggest challenge or something you really struggled with? What would that
It's
be?
always comfort eating.
Right, okay.
So I've had to, and that was quite a light bulb moment for me. It was like, right, so now what happens now? Because in the past, when you'd had I had 92 staff, it was a busy, full on, you know, crazy days. And I would be literally on Tuesday, I'd be planning the bottle of wine and the bar of Cadbury's fruit nut chocolate on Friday night. And that was like, you know, the Wednesday's hump day, nearly at that, you know, Friday night place.
Yeah.
So I had to really look at what can I now do that isn't eating to, you know, say comfort eat, but it's all about how you self-regulate, how you manage life, you know. And I was managing life by, you know, overeating and eating the wrong things. So yeah, so I think that was really important, to manage another way of still looking after myself, but not using food as that tool, really.
And it's an interesting point you raise there about food, because often when people start on a Coach Me Slim and Trim program, they're a little bit surprised that we don't dive straight into diet from week one. Clearly, we give you dietary guidelines in week one. From the start of the program, we obviously do that, but we don't really address it properly until week 3 on the program. Did that, because I know for a lot of women, it is about the diet. They want to do the diet. Did that come as a bit of a surprise to you that we didn't jump straight into that and we left it a number of weeks before, you know, 3 weeks before we actually really focused on it? Did that surprise you?
It did surprise me, and I think some of that was quite frustrating. But then when I look back, I can see that it's really not got so much to do about the diet as where you are mentally and the coaching that you need to get you into that place. Because it's like, you do know there's no surprises about what is the right food and what is not the right food. And like I said earlier, I had this mantra of I need sugar to get me through, and to be honest, I was so surprised how easy that was to move on from that. But I'm sure it was those 3 weeks of headspace stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And then when I did it, it's like, oh, this isn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. Yeah. But I was frustrated at the beginning. You're absolutely right. It's like when you go to a slimming company, like, just give us the diet and then I'm going to get onto it. I want to do it. Yeah. And that was really helpful. Yeah, definitely.
And credit to you for sticking with it and not wanting to jump the gun, despite the frustrations, and sticking with the program. And obviously you've achieved the results you've achieved. So you're 5 stone, 5 pounds lighter than what you were. Has an obvious impact in terms of your physicality. I think you're walking further and faster with the dogs now, or with your dog.
Dog's happy.
He's getting a better workout. But how has it impacted you on a personal level in terms of your own personal self-confidence, self-esteem? You know, what's going on there now?
Well, it's just complete turnaround, really, I guess. I mean, I was always very confident on the outside. I was always the person that could put on the front and turn up and deliver and whatever I needed to do. But behind the scenes, I did lack confidence. I lacked self-belief. And I think that I'm unrecognisable. You know, it's down to, I go shopping, I go into a changing room, try on clothes. I enjoy trying on clothes. There's a social event, I'm now thinking, oh, what shall I wear? Whereas in the past, I'd be like, oh, how can I get out of that? Oh gosh, you know. You know, my wardrobe I've so much gone to charity shops, but just that mismatch of what I was in there. I was really aware when I sorted out my clothes, how many things I sort of clung on. That'll make me look better. That will, I don't know. And just sort of really feeling inadequate, I guess, socially. And now I don't know that, Gaynor. You know, that's how I am. I'm just like this. This is who I am. I wear my children's clothes now. I wear jeans. You know, I enjoy wearing jeans. I've got variety of what I wear, clothes, and worrying about how I feel about myself doesn't really there. Whereas in the past, I'd be like, really needing to psych myself up for confidence. Whereas now it's just natural, really, I suppose. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. And final couple of questions then. Just how convenient have you found the training you've done so far?
I love the online, absolutely love it. I'm on time every time, it fits in really well. The program's been really, really good, highly motivational. And I think the thing is now that I know I'm staying at that weight, because I didn't really believe that originally.
Sure.
And I think the fact that I'm in control, I understand now that I control what I'm eating, what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So the combination of the coaching and the exercise, it's just been brilliant.
Fantastic. And I guess just sort of drawing this to a close now, if we can be really specific on, so somebody sat there listening to this now thinking, okay, it's all fantastic, it's all wonderful. I hear what Gaynor is saying, she's had a wonderful journey, she's done really incredibly well, but I should be able to do this myself. I am, I know I should be eating better. I know I should be exercising. Do I really want to pick up the phone and speak to this guy that I don't know from Adam? Because as adults, we like to feel as though there's certain things we can do. We shouldn't have to seek help for certain things. What, if you could just really be specific on one piece of advice or a tip relating to somebody who's thinking about picking up the phone, what might you say to that person who's in that situation now as a tip or a piece of advice?
Pick up the phone. Simple as that. I think it's about, ask yourself, why aren't you prioritizing yourself?
Yeah.
And you don't we whether we can't fit it in, we can't do it. Don't be surprised. It's a big thing. I mean, you do the job that you professionally do, and you do what you're good at. You get the dentist to help you with what you need, and you seek out another professional for other services.
Yeah.
And just put yourself first, because I think that's, and by putting yourself first, that just means just pick up the phone, have the conversation, and give it a go. I mean, God, it took me 30 years of yo-yo dieting, and then it's like now I'm here. It's like, whoa, wish I'd done it sooner. Yeah.
Gaynor, look, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today. We're going to make a date in the diary. So in 12 months' time, we're going to come back. We're going to revisit to see exactly where you are. But look, thank you for taking the time out. I just hope today has provided maybe some insights, a bit of knowledge, and hopefully a bit of inspiration to people, whether they ring me or not. Hopefully listening to you and what you've done will just inspire them to maybe take that first step on their journey. But really thank you for the time today, and we'll catch up again soon. But thank you again.
Lovely. Thank you. No worries. Thanks. Good luck, everyone.
Hi, Helen. Good afternoon to you. How are you doing?
Hi, Eric. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you. Yourself?
Yes, very well, thank you.
Well, Helen, first of all, thank you for taking the time out to sort of do this, I guess, this account of your experience on the Coach Me Slim and Trim program and how you found it. I'm just going to ask you a few questions, and if you, just give us your answers, and be interested to hear how you actually experienced the program. Obviously, for people that don't know you who are watching this, maybe just give us a little bit about your background, if you would, please.
Yeah, sure. I'm an administrator for a firm of chartered surveyors, and I work part-time there. I'm also a student at the Open University doing a psychology degree. And in what little spare time I have, I'm also a coach. So I like to pack it in.
You're a busy woman. That was something that came out when we first felt that you were very, very busy doing stuff. So I guess my first question then would be, what was... when had your weight become an issue, really? What was going on before you started the program regarding your weight and your health and all that sort of stuff? Where were you?
I think it had been worrying me for some time, actually. I think the weight had just started piling on slowly. And I'd got to the stage about the 6 months before I joined the program where I was uncomfortable in my clothes, uncomfortable with how I looked as well. And I just didn't like it. And I started wearing bigger clothes, stretchier clothes, that sort of thing, and covering it up. And I know now that I was in total denial with my weight gain, I'm afraid.
Yeah, sure. And did that have any sort of impact on you from a sort of from a work point of view? You know, the way you communicate with people, did it have any impact there at all, or was that not an issue for you, the weight?
I think it had an impact not only on work but my friendships with people. I used to just kind of hide myself away a little bit more. I wasn't as confident at all, especially at work. I wasn't very confident, and the clothes that I wore made me look frumpy and older than I was.
Sure, which is a common thing I often hear from women. So another question for me then. So had you tried anything else before to lose weight?
Yes, I had actually. It was a few years previously though. I did another. I did Weight Watchers for a while.
Sure.
And I just didn't get on with the program. I'm afraid it wasn't for me.
Okay, fine. And is that all you tried in the past?
Well, I tried to lose weight on my own, and that failed miserably.
Okay. And when you said you tried Weight Watchers, how did you get on with that? I mean, how long did you do that for? What was the outcome in terms of weight loss?
I tried it twice actually. The first time I lost a few pounds, and then I didn't lose any more. I just felt that the calorie counting thing didn't really work for me.
Sure.
And I couldn't get on with that with my busy lifestyle. I tried it again after I left for about a year. I went back to it, and it just didn't work for me. I just didn't think the way that set up was, it wasn't very helpful for my lifestyle.
Okay, that's fair enough, because obviously it's successful for some people, but like all things, as indeed this program, it's not ideal for everybody. You know, if we're being honest, people have to find what works best for them. So having had that experience then of trying other things, Weight Watchers, doing it yourself, what was it that actually attracted you to the Coach Me Slim and Trim program?
It was actually, and I remember this very, very clearly, because the decision was quite a big one to actually contact you. I looked at one of your webinars, and I remember I sat there in my dressing gown early on a Sunday morning, and I thought, I've just got to watch this because I'm getting to the point where I'm very unhappy. So I watched it, and at the end, I think you say something like, you can either give me a call to see if this program's okay for you,
Sure. Yeah.
Or you can do nothing. And I just thought, do you know what? I just don't want to keep doing nothing.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. And so we obviously had a conversation, we had an initial telephone call, and then we went into a more in-depth Zoom call at a different time and date. What was it, would you say, about the program that actually made you sign up for the program, having heard and seen and done the presentation or done the consultation via Zoom? What was it about the program that made you actually sign up for it?
There were a couple of things. I think the first thing was because it was online. It was just easy for me to do. Sure. I didn't want to go anywhere where I had to weigh in. Right. That was a big thing. I just didn't want to do that because I didn't like doing that previously.
Sure.
The fact that I could do the coaching videos as and when I wanted, that was brilliant. And we had our one-to-ones at a very convenient time for me.
Sure.
So that was the first thing. The second thing is that I needed to get my head straight around weight loss, and I knew that this was the program to do it. And none of the other ways that I tried to lose weight before had addressed that.
Yeah, sure. Which is very interesting, given the fact you come from also a coaching background as well. So I'm guessing you may have seen a bit of the value in that aspect of the program as well, I suppose.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, very much so.
And what was your weight loss goal when you started, and what sort of time frame did you give yourself to achieve that weight loss?
I started in February this year, so 2021. I was 9 stone 6 at the time, I think slightly over. I wanted sorry, I was 10 stone 6.
I was just thinking, I was thinking,
Sorry, I was 10 stone 6.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to go back to that 10 stone thing.
We've extinguished that from your memory bank.
Yes, exactly. I wanted to lose a stone. So that was my original goal. I didn't really know about a time frame, and actually I took the pressure off myself with that quite early on. But I reached that goal, and then I went for another goal of 9 stone 3, and then I went for another goal of 9 stone.
Right. So you've lost in total
20 pounds.
That's fantastic. Great. And, you know, with any weight loss journey, there are ups and downs. You know, it's never a straight journey from point A to point B. There are often ups and downs. We've had discussions about various things that have happened, you know, your degree course, work, you know, monthly menstrual cycle, all those sorts of things that have gone on. What was it that kept you motivated to continue with the program when you were met with those types of challenges?
It quite honestly, it's always been my goal. So I did an original goal card the first few weeks of the program, and that has just been the shining light that I look at every time I have a bit of a wobble. I look at that goal card, and it's so, you know, I've actually got into that dress that's on my goal card. So I'm really pleased with that, and I've since done other goal cards as well. But it's always been that I just wanted to get there.
Yeah, sure.
And I wanted to feel how that I put such emotion into that goal card. There's an awful lot more than just a few pictures.
Yeah, sure. And it's something we often try and, you know, explain to clients when we're going through the program, that, you know, pretty much 99.9% of the women that go through the program, and yourself included, when you started, you knew about healthy eating, you knew about exercise, but it's just that mindset stuff, and it's how to structure, progress it, and that little bit of accountability that often tips the scales in your favor, to use an applicable kind of analogy, I suppose, given what we're speaking about. What would you say was your biggest challenge on the program when you're going through it? You know, what did you find was the biggest thing that you had to overcome whilst you're going from, you know, from 10.6 down to 9 stone?
I think for me, it was keeping on track with meal planning. I think at the beginning, it was difficult to swap foods that I'd been eating for years and years, and those are my go-to meals.
Yeah.
And get into a new way of eating and develop new habits for my eating. And that took me a while to get into. So that was the biggest challenge I think I had. Whereas now it's just the way I eat.
Okay.
And I have other challenges now, which mostly are time, you know, life events going on. I'm in the middle of moving. I'm afraid we've had a bereavement this year. It's that sort of thing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, sure. And just going back to the food side of things, did it come as a surprise to you that we didn't really get into talking about food in any great detail until week number 3? Obviously, you had the eating plans that we provide for you in the journal, and within the membership site area, there's a whole catalogue of things in there, which I think you've already accessed some already. But when we first started out on the program, was that a surprise that I didn't go into that until week 3 and we worked on other things first? Did that come as a surprise?
It wasn't so much of a surprise, because you very clearly explained that that you were going to work on the mindset initially.
Sure.
When we had that initial chat.
Of course.
So I was prepared for that. And actually it was just the perfect thing to do, is to get your head in gear before you get your eating in gear. So
right.
And I think that's what's kept me on track, because that's exactly what I needed to do, is switch something in my head that said, you don't need to eat as much, or you don't need to eat that thing.
Sure.
And you don't need to drink as much, that sort of thing.
Yeah. No, brilliant. And you've already alluded to it a little bit earlier, but for some people listening to this, they may think, well, how can it possibly work whereby you're accessing the online coaching program, which is what you did. You went through that in your own time, on your own schedule. and then you and I booked in for the accountability stroke feedback calls. How did you find that whole process of not coming in to physically see somebody, which a lot of people are used to, just accessing it online and watching it that way, and then having the accountability and feedback calls? How was all that for you? How did that feel?
I think it was a really good way for me to do it. When I started, we were in the middle of lockdown still, so I couldn't go anywhere to see anybody. But I think a weight loss journey is very personal. And I didn't want to go into an environment actually where I had to physically go somewhere, because I think that would have been the barrier that stopped me doing this. It was the fact that I could just open my laptop and I was there. I was talking to you, and every Sunday I email you my weight, and that keeps me accountable. So it's not as if I've had no support. The support has been there throughout the whole journey. And I think more so than if I'd have physically gone to a slimming club somewhere.
Yeah, sure. Well, that's good to hear. And talking about the support, because obviously you access the online coaching program, and then we had our one-to-one calls as well. And we also have the group coaching calls as well on a Thursday night, which not everybody attends, because some people want to keep it private and don't want to attend a group coaching call. And that's perfectly understandable. It's not a requirement for the program, but you chose to attend those. How did you find those? And how did you find the fact that we never speak about weight loss during those calls either? How did you find those?
I thought that was quite funny, actually, but that we don't speak specifically about weight loss, but it really works because we speak around the subject, and it's a very supportive environment. And the range of subjects that we have on those calls it's a huge range. So it's fun as well as, educational and motivational as well. I always find at the end of the call, if I'm having a bit of a wobbly day and I think, oh, I'm hungry, I just think, right, gold card again, So it's a great bunch of people that we have, and it really works.
Yeah, great. And do you find yourself ever accessing those past calls that we've had, going over any of those at all? Because obviously we record them for people that can't attend, and we send them out via email. So if you missed a call, you can always catch up and watch what was said. Have you found yourself dipping back into any of those calls at all?
I have. I had a week where I think I put on 1.5 pounds, and I went back to I think there were mindset, diet and exercise audits. And those were useful to just give me a reminder about what I should be doing, and how I can get myself back on track. And there were a couple of calls I missed because of being away, so I went and had a look at those. So it's great to have those there if I need to.
Yeah, sure. And okay, so since losing the weight, the 20 pounds, how, if at all, would you say life has changed? Is it the same? Is it different? And if it is different, in what ways? Maybe just sort of share a bit of that insight, if you could, please.
It's different practically, but emotionally, it's hugely different. Right. So from a practical point of view, my wardrobe is starting to look very different now. Sure. And that's very nice. And I'm more confident in myself wearing clothes. Sure. So that's fantastic. But from an emotional point of view, I'm just happier in myself, just more confident. And I haven't even finished my journey yet as well, which is the most exciting thing. But yes, something has shifted in me, I think. That makes me believe myself a bit more.
Sure. And I know that when you started, you had a big significant goal coming up. I don't know if you want to share what that big goal is.
Yes, I'm going to be 50 at the end of January next year. And we're planning to go away to a very nice hotel in Tenerife. I've got my dress. I bought my dress even before I started on this program. Yes, I just want to go out and have a lovely time, and my goal was to not feel unconfident and not feel just as if I was covering myself up.
Sure.
I want to wear lovely clothes and feel good in them and feel relaxed.
Yeah, yeah, and you certainly have. Well, you've surpassed your goal, and for a lot of people, the body image is a huge part of it. I would say it's the biggest driver for most people, if they're being honest about it. But what else have you found has changed in terms of maybe your physicality, your physical abilities? Because, as you know, in the program we break it down to body image, hobbies, and health, and those two are interchangeable. For some people, health is often quite a big one ahead of hobbies. But how has it affected you in terms of your health and any hobbies that you might have?
First of all, health-wise, I have a condition which, I've had a deep vein thrombosis in my leg, and for years I've had a very painful leg because of that.
Sure.
And having lost the weight, the pressure is now taken off, and my leg isn't half as achy as it used to be.
Sure.
So from a health perspective, it's been amazing, not to have that painful leg as a reminder of my condition. So
sure.
Now, apart from taking my medication, I don't have that reminder anymore, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
So hobbies wise, I thought I was doing a fair amount of exercise before the program, but I was sitting on an exercise bike for probably about 15 minutes. I since do a lot of more exercise in terms of variety. So I've always loved walking, and we do an awful lot of walking. I bought a rowing machine and a new exercise bike, and I love doing both of those.
Great.
I do the Six Appeal workout probably about 4 times a week, and I've expanded that and that sort of thing. And I set myself a new goal that next September we're going to walk just over 100 miles of the Camino in Spain.
Fantastic.
So, and I know that I can do that now.
No, fantastic.
I'm going to train for it, but I know that I can do it.
Well, we'll certainly catch up and get some nice pictures of you doing that as well. And just a little bit about the exercise side of things, because I know for some people they are maybe a little bit concerned about, well, how am I going to do the exercise? Will I be able to find the time to do it? Is it going to be too difficult? Is it going to be complicated? And you alluded to what it is. It's called the Six Appeal workout. Maybe just shed a bit of light on what that workout is like to do from a beginner's point of view in terms of simplicity, speed, and the starting point.
It's a really good workout. Not only have you got the videos, which I found really useful, just to get the posture right. In the manual, there are the pictures there as well. So, and I still have that in front of me when I do it.
Sure.
I know it off by heart, but I just still have it.
Yeah.
So the warm up I find a great way to just get my body moving. And in general, I do my exercise first thing in the morning now.
Sure.
And then I move on to the Six Appeal after the warm up. It took me a while to get the movements right, I have to admit, and I went back to the videos to make sure that I was kind of doing that okay.
Sure.
And then I've moved up from just not having any weights really to having a 6 kilo kettlebell, which I know for some isn't very weighty, but for me, I didn't do any weights at all.
Exactly.
So
it's a progression. Absolutely correct. Yeah. And I guess just a final couple of things then, because I know a lot of people, one of the big things that a lot of women, I think, struggle with when it comes to not just the Coach Me Slim and Trim program, but any sort of weight loss program, the thoughts are fear of failure. What if I fail again? What will I do? I don't know if that was in your mind. And also the range of different eating options that we provide for you. So maybe we start off with, let's go with the eating options first in terms of what's available to you, because there'll be people thinking, oh, maybe it's going to be high protein, or it's going to be, don't have this, you can't have that. How have you found the range of menus and shopping plans that have been made available to you?
I found it fine actually, and I have a better variety now than I did before, which is ridiculous really. What I did do, and I made this decision myself, was to cut out starchy carbs in the evening straight away.
Sure.
And I now substitute, say I used to eat a lot of rice, I now make cauliflower or broccoli rice, and I have that instead. So I have a different variety. I eat lots of different things, and it's not hindered me in any way actually. I just stick to the protein, fats and carbs.
Yeah. And in terms of the library of meal plans that are now available, because we recently upgraded that, how have you found those new sort of plans that have been made available to you?
Well, they're great actually, because it gives you an idea and it makes it more motivational. So especially the visuals of seeing that, and they're very easy to do as well. So, and simple. So I like cooking anyway. And so it's kind of nice to say, oh, I'm going to do that. And the ingredients aren't things that you have to go and really search for. They're kind of things that you've got in your store cupboard anyway and in your fridge. So that I really like that.
No, great. And I'm glad you found that beneficial. And then in terms of this fear of failure, which I know a lot of people have, you know, what if I start and I fail again? How did you manage to get over that particular, if indeed you had that thought process at all?
I think my thought process was, I can't do it, more than fear of failure, because I hadn't even got to that point yet. It was, I just can't do this. And I think it was because of the history of what I'd done before. Maybe I'd lost a few pounds. It was never more than a few pounds. But I hadn't gone any further. And so I had it ingrained in me that I couldn't do it.
Sure.
So basically, to get over that, I had to start believing in myself. And the first few weeks of the program helped with that as well, and not beating myself up and that sort of thing.
Which is huge. That's brilliant. Okay, Helen. Well, look, you know, thank you for sharing all that insight and your experiences. You know, hopefully anybody listening to this will, even if they don't contact me, hopefully they can get some sense of inspiration that, look, even when things appear to be very difficult and maybe haven't had success in the past, it is possible to become successful when you find the right program, whether that's the Coach Me Slim and Trim program, a slimming club, or, you know, any other program that's out there. It's just really having the desire, I suppose, to want to do something. So in closing then, for anybody sat, you know, listening to this now, who are thinking, well, okay, that all sounds great. I'm interested, but I'm not sure, and I'm sitting on the fence, and I don't know if I should give Eric a ring. And what would you say maybe their next step should be if somebody was in that situation? And not necessarily telling them what to do, but what do you think might be an idea, let's say?
I'd say just give you a call, just to have a chat. You know, it costs nothing to have a chat.
Yeah.
But also, I go back to the thing I said about listening to your webinar. One of the options was do nothing. So I would say to somebody, imagine what will happen if you give Eric a call or do nothing.
Right.
So, because that for me was the sort of catalyst for actually, do you know what, I'm going to lose weight. And it is possible. It really is possible.
Brilliant. You've certainly shown that is the case. Well, Helen, look, thank you very much for taking the time out today. Good luck with the rest of the degree course you're doing as well.
Thank you.
And the Camino Way, and hopefully we can catch up and maybe we can get some snaps of you doing the Camino Way, and maybe do a follow-up, which I like to do with people from time to time, as to where you are maybe in 6-12 months time, possibly, which would be great to do.
Definitely.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for taking the time, Helen. Thank you.
Thanks.
And then by 10 o'clock I'd be starving and I wouldn't have anything, so I'd go and grab some rubbish, probably a cake or something like that, and then I'd think, oh, I failed again. And then probably comfort eat. My confidence went right down, just because I knew I didn't look nice. anyway. I found it, excruciating, to look in the mirror and see my reflection anywhere. So my clothes got progressively baggier. So I knew that I didn't look nice even when I was supposedly sort of dressing up.
Yeah.
I have to be honest. It wasn't a magic bullet. There were some days when I just wanted the world to go away. I did the exercise because I knew ultimately that would help me. Really, this for me has been life-changing, and it doesn't feel like a flash in the pan.